The movie starts by introducing a family. John is a very good doctor. His wife is Emma, and their daughter is Marie. Marie is a professional swimmer. One day, they go to a guest house in the middle of the woods to spend their vacation. One of Marie's childhood friends, Paige, also lives near the town, so she goes to meet her. Paige works as a cashier at a convenience store. They meet after a very long time and start catching up. At that moment, a teenage boy named Justin comes into the store and asks for a pack of cigarettes. Since Justin isn't old enough to buy cigarettes, Paige rejects him. Justin then offers them a deal, saying he has connections to a hotel where any kind of illegal substances can be obtained. If she gives him the cigarettes, he can take them there. Paige, being somewhat addicted to drugs, accepts the offer and goes to that place with Marie. Inside a room, Justin and Paige start smoking, and eventually Marie also joins them. Marie informs her mother that she won't be coming home tonight because she is staying at her best friend's place. However, Marie's mother doesn't allow it since Marie is only 18. But due to a poor network connection, their conversation gets cut off. Meanwhile, a big storm is approaching the area. In the hotel room, they are spending time together when suddenly some other people arrive. They turn out to be Justin's father Korg, his uncle Franchise, and Korg's girlfriend Sadie. Justin's mother had actually died a few years ago. Justin didn't expect them to return so soon. Seeing two unknown girls in the hotel room makes Korg extremely angry. Although they may appear gentle, the reality is that all of Justin's family members are criminals. They had committed serious crimes in the past. Since then, they have been in hiding, while the police are still trying to catch them. Their photos have appeared in many newspapers. Because of this, they usually stay hidden in hotel rooms, and Justin is the only member of the family whose name is not on the crime list. For this reason, they use him to go out and bring food and other necessities. After seeing two unknown girls, Korg and Franchise grow suspicious. Since their photos are already out in the newspapers, they fear that if the girls recognize them, they might inform the police and put them in danger. Because of this, they feel they have no choice but to capture the girls. Paige and Marie quickly realize the situation, and in fear, they beg to be released, promising they won't tell the police anything. But they have no idea what fate awaits them. Korg refuses to let them go, so the girls try to escape, but they fail. Korg understands that the longer they stay in this place, the more dangerous it becomes for them. So, they take Marie's car and start leaving the town. Inside the car, Franchise starts to touch Paige in an inappropriate way, but they are helpless in the situation, so they can't do anything but endure it. At a point, the highway divides into two, so Korg doesn't understand which way they have to take. So Marie takes the chance and suggests the wrong one because their guest house is on that way. When they come near Marie's cottage, she tries to jump out of the car, but then the hustle and bustle starts inside the car. Because of that, the car loses its balance and goes out of track. It goes inside the jungle and collides with a tree. Everyone in the car was badly injured, but Marie still tried to escape. Sadie and Francis dragged Paige out of the car and began to beat her. As Sadie turned to attack Marie, Paige grabbed a tree branch and stabbed Sadie in the stomach. This pushed Sadie off Marie, giving the two girls a chance to flee. However, before Marie could get away, Krug caught her. Sadie and Francis chased Paige as she ran deep into the forest. Paige tripped and injured her leg, but refused to give up. Spotting a factory in the distance, she screamed repeatedly for help, but the loud noise of the machinery drowned out her cries. A short while later, Sadie and Francis captured her, dragged her back into the woods, and tied her up on the ground. Next, Krug turned to his son, Justin, and said, "It's time for you to be a man. Go on. Do whatever you want with the girl." He then forced a reluctant Justin to touch Marie inappropriately. Marie struggled to break free, but the group held her down. Seeing what they were doing to her friend, the captive Paige began screaming insults at Krug. Enraged, Krug stabbed Paige repeatedly, killing her. Helpless, Marie watched her friend die, then clung to Paige's body and sobbed uncontrollably. There was nothing she could do. The furious Krug pinned Marie to the ground, molesting her before raping her in front of the others. Marie couldn't fight back. She repeatedly pleaded with Justin for help, but while he wanted to intervene, he was powerless. When Justin finally tried to step in, Francis stopped him. During the assault, Krug ripped a chain from Marie's neck and threw it aside. Justin secretly picked it up and kept it. After the brutal assault ended, Marie used the last of her strength to get up and run away through the forest. She knew that in her condition, she wouldn't get far before Krug and his gang caught her again. To save herself, Marie, who was a good swimmer, jumped into a river, believing she could easily swim to safety. Krug, however, began shooting at her from the riverbank. After a few missed shots, One bullet tragically struck Mari in the back, and she fell unconscious, floating in the water. At that moment, a violent storm erupted in the forest. With no other option, Krug, Francis, Sadie, and Justin were forced to seek shelter in a nearby house. The most shocking twist of all was that this house was Mari's family cottage. Unknowingly, they had sought refuge at the home of the very girl they had just tortured and raped. Seeing these strangers arrive so late in the middle of a storm, Mari's parents asked where they had come from. The group lied, claiming they had been in an accident and, left with no choice, had come to their home seeking shelter. Thinking about where the strangers could go in such a storm, John offered them shelter. Being a good doctor, John even treated an injury for Francis. His wife, Emma, served everyone hot coffee and said, "This storm doesn't look like it's going to stop. Why don't you all spend the night in our outhouse?" After finishing his coffee, Justin went to the kitchen to put his cup down and froze. On the refrigerator, he saw a picture of Mari. A jolt of terror shot through him as he realized that John and Emma were Mari's parents. He couldn't process that they had taken refuge with the parents of the girl who was so brutally assaulted before his eyes. A girl he didn't even know was dead or alive. Justin, who still had Mari's locket, quietly placed it on the kitchen table before joining the others in the outhouse for the night. From the moment the group arrived, Emma had felt uneasy about their behavior. Something was clearly wrong. As she and John were discussing this, they suddenly heard a noise outside that sounded like a knock on the door. Confused as to who could be out in the storm, they opened the door to find no one there. They searched the immediate area, certain they had heard someone, and then they saw something that made their blood run cold. Their daughter, Mari, lying on the ground in a critically injured state. Miraculously, despite being shot in the back, Mari had managed to swim, climb out of the river, and endure the storm to make her way home. She had no strength left. John rushed her inside and immediately began treating her. Terrified, Emma went to the kitchen to find medical supplies and noticed Mari's locket on the table. In an instant, she understood everything. Justin, who had been in the kitchen earlier, must have left it there. The people staying in their outhouse were responsible for their daughter's near-fatal condition. After John removed the bullet from Mari's back, the reality of their danger set in. The monstrous people who had done this to their daughter were just outside. They decided they had to escape immediately, but realized their car was gone. Their next plan was to use the speedboat, but John couldn't find the keys. Preparing for the worst, Emma gathered some knives from the kitchen for self-defense. Suddenly, Francis walked in, asking for a beer to warm up from the cold. Emma was startled, but acted as if she knew nothing. As she spoke to him, she casually took Mari's photo off the fridge to hide it, trying her best to keep Francis from seeing Mari lying in the other room. But as he was leaving the kitchen, he glanced over and saw Mari on the couch, his face a mask of shock. Without hesitation, Emma smashed a beer bottle over his head from behind. John returned at that exact moment, and a desperate fight began. Francis tried to shout for his friends through the window, but John attacked him, striking him precisely on the same wound he had treated earlier. As a doctor, John knew that hitting an existing injury would inflict double the pain and weaken a person twice as fast. John tried to drown Francis in the basin, and when that failed, he grabbed a hammer and began striking him violently on the head. He struck him again and again until Francis was dead. Witnessing this brutal murder, Emma was terrified. John and Emma, who had just wanted to escape, now changed their minds. After killing Francis, a strange confidence, fueled by hatred and stubborn resolve, took hold of them. They decided they could not let the monsters who had violated their daughter get away. Tonight, either the monsters would die, or they would. They were parents, and no parent can stay silent when their child has been harmed. Armed with whatever they could find, John and Emma went to the outhouse where Krug and Sadie were sleeping. Justin was awake, sitting there with a gun in his hand. When John entered, Justin simply handed the gun over to him, wanting no part in a fight. He had been against his family's horrific actions from the start, but had been too afraid to speak up. Now, given the chance, he sided with John. Suddenly, Sadie woke up, and John immediately shot her. A chaotic fight erupted with Krug, who was thrown out of the window during the struggle. The injured Sadie locked herself in the bathroom, but John kicked the door in. She tried to attack him with an iron rod, but Emma appeared and shot her in the eye, killing her instantly. Terrified by this turn of events, Krug scrambled away and hid inside John's house instead of returning to the outhouse. He entered the kitchen and saw Francis's blood-soaked corpse on the floor. A deep sense of fear, even greater than his despair, began to grow inside him. It was then that he saw the family photos on the wall and finally understood that John and Emma were Mari's parents. Mari, however, was no longer there. Before launching their attack, her parents had moved her to the safety of their boat on the river. A short while later, John entered his own home, hunting for Krug. He searched every corner, shouting in fury when he couldn't find him. "If you have any courage, come face me," he yelled. "You attacked my innocent daughter when she was alone. If you have any guts, fight her father. See how much strength a helpless, tormented father truly has." Krug, the vicious predator, was now hiding in fear. But from his hiding spot, he shouted insults back at John. Following the sound of his voice, John eventually found him. Krug ambushed John, and a brutal fight ensued. John was severely injured but refused to give up. He was a father avenging the horrific violation of his daughter and would not die so easily. Krug beat him relentlessly, and in the chaos, everything around them was knocked over. In the mess, John suddenly spotted the speedboat keys on the floor. He smashed a table over Krug and tried to grab the keys, but Krug struck him back, knocking him unconscious. Just then, Justin appeared from behind and aimed the gun at his own father, Krug. He pulled the trigger, but unfortunately, the gun was empty. Krug was stunned. His own son had just tried to kill him. Perhaps this was karma. Krug, who had tried to destroy a family by raping and murdering an innocent girl, now faced his own son, who wished him dead. But a monster who doesn't know how to love or respect another's child cannot truly love his own. Krug proved this by driving an iron rod into his son Justin's chest. "I loved you so much, Justin, because you were my son," he said. "But you broke my trust. You have no right to live." As he continued to attack his gravely wounded son, Emma intervened, saving Justin. At that moment, John regained consciousness and launched himself at Krug one last time. Together, they beat Krug until he was unconscious. Thus, the horrific, nightmarish night finally came to an end. But the revenge was not yet complete. At dawn, John, Emma, Mari, and a wounded Justin escaped in the speedboat. However, after leaving them in a safe place, John returned to the house alone. He went back to where Krug lay and systematically broke every one of his limbs, leaving Krug paralyzed and able to move nothing but his head. Then, John dragged a microwave oven in front of him and carefully forced Krug's head inside. John switched the oven on, looked at him, and said, "Now, you'll be fine," before turning and walking away. Krug began to scream in agony as his face started to burn, but there was no one left to hear his cries. A few moments later, the intense heat of the microwave caused his head to explode. It was as if a voice inside John was speaking. "My innocent daughter screamed just like that, begging for her life. Today, I took my revenge. Because I am her father." Krug had finally received his horrific, deserved punishment. He was dead,